Raise your hand if you were told there's a right order to life. College, job, marriage, kids. And if you don't follow it, you're somehow behind. Yeah, we're going to talk about that. This is Shedding the Shoulds. Welcome back to Sweet and Sour Sessions. I'm really glad you're here. Whether this is your first time listening or you've been here from the beginning, this space is meant to feel like a place you can just exhale. A place for honest conversations, curiosity, and letting go of the pressure to have everything figured out. I'm Erin, your host and non-licensed secondhand therapist. Today's episode is called Shedding the Shoulds, and it's probably one of the episodes I've been looking forward to the most this season. So where do I even start with this one? Shedding the shoulds sounds simple, but for me, it unraveled an entire life plan I didn't even realize I had agreed to. A roadmap I never actually chose, I just inherited. For as long as I can remember, there was this quiet understanding of how life was supposed to go. You go to college, get the degree, you get the good job, you get married, you have babies, and then what? When I was about 25, that question hit me like a ton of bricks. I remember thinking, is that it? Was life supposed to peak early and then just coast? And every part of my body was like, nope, absolutely not. That feels wrong. I wanted more life, more experiences, more curiosity, and more joy. So I started asking questions I had never really asked before. Questions like, do I even want kids? Do I actually want marriage? Or do I want those things because I've been told my whole life that I should want them? And those thoughts scared me. Honestly, they terrified me. Because if I didn't want the life that had been prescribed to me, then what did I want? And was I even allowed to want something different? I mean, I knew I wanted to travel. I wanted to see the world and I wanted to have adventures. And suddenly I was asking myself things like, can I picture myself doing that with kids? Can I do that with a partner who doesn't value travel? Do I have to sacrifice parts of myself because I've already committed to a version of life that doesn't include those things? Those questions felt heavy. And because I process best out loud, I started sharing some of these questions and thoughts with people close to me. Some were incredibly supportive, helping me untangle what it was that I actually wanted. Others, not so much. There was discomfort, judgment, strong reactions, especially at the idea that I might not want kids, that I might not want to be a mom. And that opened up a much bigger realization. From the moment we exist, there are expectations quietly placed on our shoulders, especially as women. We are expected to be caretakers, to anticipate everyone else's needs, to show up emotionally available at all times, but not to have needs of our own because that might be selfish. We're expected to help, to volunteer, to listen, to be kind, to be understanding, to show grace always. But we're rarely told that we're allowed to show up authentically. That some days authenticity looks like kindness and warmth. And some days it looks like frustration, anxiety, irritability, and fear. Sometimes it looks like choosing yourself, celebrating yourself, putting your needs first. And yet, that gets labeled as selfish. When I was first reading Untamed by Glennon Doyle, it's an excellent book. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend it. When I was reading Untamed, there was something Glennon articulated, something I had felt my whole life but couldn't quite name. Now, I'm paraphrasing, but she talks about how society creates cages, not just for women, but for men too. Different cages, different rules, same loss of freedom. For women, the cage is often about being agreeable, being nurturing, being self-sacrificing, being small enough, being quiet enough, wanting the right things. For men, the cage looks different, but it's still a cage. Men are expected to be providers, protectors, strong, stoic, masculine. So many men grew up believing they shouldn't cry, shouldn't be sensitive, shouldn't like the wrong things. Sports are fine, but theater or certain kinds of dance is questionable. Blue is an acceptable color, but pink is not. Emotion and vulnerability are weaknesses. We also grew up hearing excuses made for men and standards enforced for women. Boys will be boys gives permission. Girls should know better demands restraint. But when you really zoom out, what's happening is this. We're teaching everyone that there's a correct way to exist, a correct timeline, a correct personality, a correct set of dreams. And if you fall outside of it, you're judged, you're questioned, you're told you're doing life wrong. That pressure doesn't just shape our choices, it silences parts of who we are. And what Glennon points out so powerfully is that when we force people into these rigid roles, everyone loses. Women lose the freedom to be fully themselves. Men lose the freedom to feel and emote. And we all lose connection. Now, I do see shifts happening in society. These conversations are louder than they've ever been, but there are still so many shoulds that we could be talking about. Like, who decided we should be married and have kids in our 20s and be fully established in our careers before 30 so that we can work endlessly, retire, maybe travel if we can afford it, become grandparents and then die? That model might have worked at one point, but society has changed. We don't need to be married to have children. We don't need to have children to be fulfilled. We don't need a partner to build a meaningful life. Maybe fulfillment comes from experiences, or friendships, or community, or creativity, or a pet, or the million different versions of yourself that you'll experience over a lifetime. Maybe your dream career at 25 burns you out by 35. Maybe your true passion shows up at 50. And none of that is wrong. We're told we should be a certain size, a certain weight, a certain version of healthy. But what if healthy means feeling good in your body and balancing the physical and mental health of yourself? Maybe that looks like lifting weights or connecting with nature. Maybe it's enjoying restaurant experiences with friends. Maybe it's cooking or not cooking simply because you don't want to. What if the shoulds we focused on were things like, I should live a life that brings me joy. I should live a life I'm proud of. I should live a life that brings me peace. And you should know that what brings you joy can change. What feels fulfilling today might not feel the same in a year or 10. And that's not failure. That's growth. Our lives are meant to evolve as we learn who we are. We are constantly getting to know ourselves. What lights us up, what drains us, what we care deeply about, what we don't care about at all. Life is far too short to live by someone else's definition of happiness. And I want to pause here and say something really clearly because this matters. If you want the life I described earlier, the college, career, marriage, kids, that pathway, I'm not minimizing that life. if you want a big family, if you want to be a stay-at-home parent, if you want to build an ambitious career, if you want all of those things at the same time, that is not wrong. That life is not less evolved. It's not less interesting. That path is not something you need to outgrow or change. If that life feels true to you, you should pursue it fully and unapologetically. Right now, my standard of living looks like a home that feels completely like me, with color and warmth and cozy energy, a place where people feel welcome the second they walk in. It looks like experiences, both locally and beyond. It looks like travel and community, laughter and time with my family and friends, food that I love, music I enjoy, shows that I want to see, being more creative and learning new things. It looks like my dog and the joy that she gets from a game of frisbee or from laying in a sunny spot on the floor. Her joy reminds me how simple happiness can be. One of the sneakiest shoulds we absorb is comparison. And not just comparison, competition. We're constantly measuring ourselves against invisible scorecards. Who's ahead? Who's behind? Who's doing life right? We start turning our lives into metrics. Am I successful enough? Thin enough? Productive enough? Desirable enough? Worldly enough? And honestly, I think Taylor Swift said it best when she was asked if she listens to what people say about her and if their comments influence how she feels about herself. Her response was, "It's not part of my metrics for my self-worth." That line stuck with me because so many of us are using comparison metrics. We measure our worth by titles, relationship status, body size, income, number of followers, milestones achieved, instead of things like joy, curiosity, peace, connection, and growth. And here's the thing, no matter what you do, the feedback never stops. You're too feminine, you're too masculine, you're too buff, you're too big, you wear too much makeup, you don't wear enough, you're too loud, you're too quiet, you're too emotional, you're too cold. The list goes on and on. And the goalposts you're reaching for, they move every single time you get close. So at some point you have to ask yourself, who am I actually trying to please here? Who am I living for? Because authenticity will always be punished by systems that rely on conformity. So maybe the real work of shedding the shoulds is choosing better metrics. Instead of, how does my life compare? Ask, does my life feel aligned to me? Instead of, am I doing this right? Ask, does this feel like me? Instead of, am I ahead or behind? Ask, am I present? Am I growing? Am I content? Because your worth was never meant to be measured by how closely you follow someone else's path. That way of thinking traps us in shame, anxiety, and self-doubt. My hope is that we can learn to look at other people's lives and feel joy for them without using their path as a weapon against ourselves. No two people are meant to live the same life. Even with the same opportunities, we will choose differently. And those choices matter. I've made choices that didn't work out. Plenty of them. And I can honestly say, my life is the best it's ever been because those things didn't go according to plan. At 25, I definitely thought by 37 I would be married, with kids, a dog, a house, living a very rural Midwestern life. That didn't happen. Well, except for the dog part. But even in my early 30s, I assumed marriage would come by 35. It didn't. Instead, I'm single, living with my dog, and I'm happier than I've ever been in this season of life. I'm more fulfilled than I ever could have imagined because I asked the questions. I got to know myself, and I put myself first. The point isn't what we choose. The point is who gets to choose. What I want and what you want will look different, and that's exactly how it's meant to be. The problem isn't marriage. The problem isn't kids or careers or staying home or traveling the world. The problem is believing there's only one right way to live. There isn't. There's the best way for you, the one that fits you, the one that you choose. I saw a quote on Instagram recently that said, "Everything is a win when the goal is experience." And that completely reframed things for me. If the goal is experience, then nothing is wasted. Trying something new isn't a failure. Changing your mind isn't backtracking. Starting over isn't losing. You're not competing with anyone else's timeline. You're not auditioning for approval. You're just living. And when experience becomes the goal, comparison loses its grip. One of the bravest things we can do for ourselves and for each other is to stop judging different paths and to start honoring our own personal truths. Now, I'm going to do something a little different, and you can let me know in the comments if you loved this or if you hated it. Okay, I'd like you to take a breath. Think about one area of your life where the word should shows up the loudest. Maybe it's relationships, maybe it's your career, maybe it's your body, maybe it's your age. Now finish this sentence without editing yourself. I should be. Notice how that feels in your body. Now ask yourself, who taught me this? Is this a belief I chose or one I inherited? If no one was watching, would I still want this? Now rewrite the sentence. I want to be, or I feel most alive when. You don't have to act on it today, and you don't have to explain it to anyone. Just let yourself name it, because clarity comes before courage. This is what I want you to hear. It's okay to release the life you were told to want. It's okay to choose what feels right. It's okay if others don't understand it. It's okay to allow your joy to change and evolve. You get to decide what a good life looks like for you. Age is just a number. You are not behind. You are becoming. There are going to be so many versions of you. And here's a should I can get on board with. There should be many versions of you as you grow, evolve, and enter different seasons of life. Learn yourself over and over. Forget the timelines. Forget the rules that you didn't write. Keep asking the questions and let the answers change. Remember, you never have to stick with something just because you chose it once. You are allowed to change your mind. You never have to live someone else's version of joy. You get to decide. And that's a beautiful thing. Thank you for joining me today. If this episode resonated with you or sounds like something a friend or family member might benefit from, please share it. You never know who's seeking permission for things that are actually just human. As always, I'm Erin. This is Sweet and Sour Sessions, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other.